Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So, a lot of different little things happening today. We'll go over your last quiz. We're going to go over a little bit more about how we design objects. Good morning. Hopefully we'll have time to go into UML and JUnit. If not, we'll continue on. How's your projects going? Have you done anything? I think so.
It's completely done.
It's completely done. Good. You want to present now so everyone can see what they're supposed to have?
Oh no, that's not until the end of the semester. It's a
Okay. All right. So before I continue on, I'm a side note, and this goes for the online students as well. I've been in contact with someone from Cisco, and he wants to do some mock interviews with students. And this is mainly to get feedback about what students need to improve upon, how I can teach basically this course better, and also data structures better to prepare students. I was just actually curious if anyone's interested, because from a student perspective, then you at least get the experience of how to interview for a computer science job.
I would volunteer, but it might not be your best foot forward.
Well, the other thing going on is, do we have any applied computing minors in here, or any computer science minors in particular? You have one minor, right, Nicole?
Yes.
Are you which minor are you? Are you the applied computing minor, or?
I wish I could tell you.
You wish you could?
choose computer science.
Yeah.
Computer science.
Hang on, I have my thing right here.
There's multiple minors. Apparently we have lots of choices.
Applied computing, computer programming track.
Nice. Yes, you're actually the perfect candidate for this.
I would love to.
Because what's happening is for your minor, we're trying to get computer science into, help them merge with other fields, because there is a huge disconnect between software developers and basically everyone else. The reason why this is important, especially for you, is then you get to see what it is we actually do, what the interview process is. And since this is, if I recall correctly, this is your last programming course of the minor, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the last time we have to teach you basically everything you need to go in case you have to take a programming job at some point. So it'd be very good from your perspective to see how much of it we got ingrained in your head or educated. But yeah, if anyone else is interested, actually, are y'all interested, or y'all don't know? This is too early in your career. What's going on? What am I talking about?
Who do we contact?
I just want to know, before I go into this, the time hasn't been set. I'm just trying to see who's interested right now. Are people actually interested in this, or y'all just don't care, or?
I do it.
You do it? Okay.
I'll do it. Yeah.
You do it? Okay, so there's some interest. Okay, that's all. I'll get more down the line. I just want to make sure before I go in and do all the paperwork for it, bring someone in. Says the military, the guy who's worked in the government. Before I have to do all this paperwork, is it going to be worth it? No, so that's good. So we actually would get a group together and be able to do those mock interviews. So if you are interested online, tell me, and I'll make sure I CC you on future communications. But back to the quiz. You all took the quiz? Mm-hmm. Excuse me. What's the difference between an object and a class?
Class is the blueprint to the object.
Right. So what does that mean?
That means that your class describes describes your object.
Right.
And you build your object from those attributes.
Yeah, from the blueprint, the class. So how many classes are there per objects, or what's the relationship there?
An object can be part of many classes. Well,
Okay.
In a way.
In a way, yes. But if you have one class, how many objects can be of that class? Or zero.
Which is zero is that how many you want.
Right, how many you want. But we can't really go negative. All right. A class has no memory space. Remember that. It's not allocated on the heap. The object is what's actually allocated. What is the scope of a variable?
How long it runs for?
How long it runs for? Okay, that's not bad.
Where
I
is
see where you're
that
going.
used? What class or what function it's a part of?
Method it's a part of. So, did you have
So where it was used.
where it was used, right? So the scope is where you can access it, where you can use it, where it runs. But access is the key word here. Or referenced is another way, where the variable can be referenced. or accessed. Why does the author? Does the author? Oh well. Why does the author state objects should be self-governing? I think these were old slides.
The author of what? What's
The author of what? Right, now we have 2 books. Why should objects be there we go, self-governing? What does that even mean?
If you had to govern them, it'd be a lot of work.
Why would you not want other programmers to govern how your object works?
It might mess it up.
Might mess it up,
Change some
right.
things around.
Yeah, it's just a way of protecting, essentially, your code so other programs don't change their values. All right, here we go. This will be good. We want you to describe each of the following. What's an attribute?
A characteristic
A characteristic.
of an object.
What particular characteristic is it talking about?
What makes that object that object?
What makes that object? Is it the data, the functions, other objects, the name?
It's the
stru-
data.
It's the data. There we go. Data values stored in an object. And then what's the operation? Or what's an operation?
I took my turn.
You took your turn? Okay, fine. So what's an operation? If the attribute's the data stored in it, what would be the operation?
Methods.
The methods. Yeah, the function. So what's a modifier? Ooh. Hard to define. Ooh.
I wanted to get the smart butt answers like the. Just wanted to use.
I like it. It's fun. It's fun. One.
It's something that modifies it.
Oh, thanks. Right. So it changes it. Good guess. All right. So it's a reserved word in Java to define the characteristic of something. So, for example, public is a modifier. What would be a public method?
Method accessible to us.
Right. Throughout the entire program. All right. So besides Tyler, what's private method? How often would your students say? Teachers say that, Tyler?
Actually, for me, often.
Oh, okay.
Sadly, very often.
I'm just curious. So then, what's the private method?
Only used in that one class or function.
Yeah, only that one class can use that function. So it's private to the class or object. What's a public variable? Yes.
Try, yes. It's a variable you define in like one function, but use anyway throughout the program.
Define. Okay, it can be used anywhere throughout the program. Yes, but it's not defined in a function. It would be defined in the class, and then that could be used everywhere. So yeah, good guess, good guess. And if the public variable is part of a class or an object and can be accessed anywhere, it wouldn't be a private variable.
The opposite. It can't be accessed by any object.
Can't be accessed by any object. All right. But it can only be accessed by the class or object itself. Okay. Public method, public variable, private variable. Which of those 4 do you want to avoid?
Public variables.
Why do you want to avoid public variables?
It's hard to keep track of a variable that's used throughout the program.
Throughout the program, right. Well, what in particular can happen?
You can get mixed up in variable names.
In variable names?
Yeah.
Well, true.
You may want a variable name in one class or one function, and if it's global, then it'll get mixed up.
It'll get mixed up. Okay. True, sure. But what could happen from a software engineering perspective working with other programmers?
They might use the same variable.
Right. So if you make public variable in your class, other programmers can now change that variable whenever they want to, which means bad things can happen. It breaks the self-governingness or encapsulation of your object. Okay. Everyone's tired this morning. Any questions on these? Make sure that this is crystal clear. All right. What does static mean in front of a variable?
You can't change it.
You can change that. That would be final. Would be can't change it. What was the other?
Global.
Global. No, that's about public and private.
I thought like static meant like it stays the same.
It stays the same. So if something is a static in front of a variable, what it means is that it's a class attribute. AKA, if it's part of you have a static variable, there is only one, and it's part of that class. Other objects may access the variable, but there's only one variable. This is opposed to when you create multiple objects, where every object has its own set of variables. If the variable is declared static, there is only one variable, and it's shared amongst all classes, all that class and all the objects. So there can be only one, is the way I remember it. Ooh, does anyone remember where that's from, or am I now too old? Highline, there we go. Good. Phew. I feel like sometimes calling it the Highlander variable.
Keeping it relevant.
Keeping it relevant. All right, what does null mean in Java? That was good. That was good. All right. Technically, it means nothing. Okay, I will take that. Null points to nothing. That's what it really means, nothing. The book answer. You may want to declare an attribute that will later require user input. Thus, you would initialize the attribute to null before the user is given the opportunity to enter the data. By setting the attribute to null, which is a valid condition, you can check whether an attribute has been properly set or not.
So, could that be the same as clear? If you wanted
Yes.
to clear something, you could just null it?
You set it equal to null, yes. And then later in Java, we'll come in and do the memory or garbage collection. You got it. Any other questions? That was a great connection between lab and slide. All right. What is a constructor? What must the syntax of a constructor be? Wow, I have a lot of text on this one. What's a constructor? Supervillain?
No constructor.
A constructor.
That would be a good name.
Well, that would probably be the hero, and the destructor would be the supervillain, right? That'd be his,
Wreck-It Ralph.
Then they can wreck it around. Then they can have that. All right, what's a constructor?
They're like, well, I know that they're the same name as the class.
All right, so the constructor has to be the same name as the class, but what is it?
I don't know.
It's not a class itself, then.
It builds.
It builds your class. That's on the right track.
But it doesn't return anything.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't return anything.
You declare it not to return anything, right? So it's a function. And when is the function called?
What the class is called?
When the class is created. Now, good morning. All right, the constructor is a function called when the object is created. Specifically, if you want to keep this solid in your mind what's going on, Java allocates the memory for your object, sets the variables to their default value. I don't know what st means. Sets variables to their default values, calls the constructor, and then returns a pointer reference to your Java variable. Example, string str equals new string hello world. It would first allocate the memory for hello world as a string object, set all the variables to null initially, call the string constructor passing in hello world, which would take the hello world copied into the object, and then it would finally return a pointer to string so that it could be stored in str. That's what's happening technically, but for this course you can just think of it as the function called when your object is created. The constructors, we talked about the syntax. Name must match the class name, so class student, those two must match, and also student doesn't return anything. Note you can have multiple constructors, you just change what the argument list is for student. Okay, any questions? All right. Before I forget, reading, make sure you do chapter 6. Hopefully you've noticed. Has anyone been keeping up with the reading? Someone? Hopefully? Yes. Good. These chapters are short. Just read them. It'll really help solidify what's going on. They're not long. And then Core Java, chapter 3, sections 2 and 3, which will start talking about syntax. All right.